Your nervous system, we could say it's like a processor of the computer or your phone, so it needs to process everything what's happening. It needs to process this experience, and even from the five senses only, from your sight, hearing, touching, smelling, tasting, the five senses are sending 11 million bits of information per second to the nervous system. The five senses alone. So everything is being processed right now. Even your focused on understanding, is a small fraction of your five senses, signals coming to your brain. And essentially this whole experience, what is happening now, is being processed right now in your nervous system. So therefore scientists say that people are always experiencing their nervous system. And the nervous system is very sensitive. It's extremely sensitive, actually. It's very, very sensitive. And thus, strong negative traumatic experiences have a great impact on the nervous system. So traumas are traumas and injuries, of course, physical injuries and traumas have the deepest, biggest impact on the nervous system damage. Traumas and injuries damage the nervous system physically, but even traumas damage the nervous system also physically, because they block the neural pathways. So if in the nervous system there is a certain block of the neuron pathways, then the neurons start to wire around or start to rewire in a different pathways to avoid that blocked area in the nervous system. And thus they develop fears, anxieties, that we should not enter this traumatic experience again. That these neural pathways are blocked, and therefore the fear starts molding around that area in the nervous system to try to avoid that damage in the nervous system. So traumas create basically like literally blockages, like blank dark spots in the nervous system where the light cannot flow through anymore, electricity cannot flow through anymore, and thus the neurons rewire themselves to try to avoid these blocked areas. The defense mechanisms start to form, fears, anxieties, conditional pathways start to form around these blocked areas. Another great problem, of course, are psychological blockages, which actually wire your brain nervous system specifically to function through those psychological conditions. And over time, if these psychological conditions are reinforced, the physical wiring establishes itself. So actually in your nervous system it becomes a physical wiring with that particular psychological condition. So actually psychological condition becomes a physical condition in your nervous system. So therefore your nervous system creates your experience, it gives you experience. The nervous system is physically manifested, and that's how this current experience is perceived. And that's why when you're triggered, you immediately act out in that particular way, because it's physically wired, because of the past psychological traumatic experiences. But the good part is that the nervous system is quite placid, and it can be rewired. The rewiring process is not so easy and not so simple, and that requires effort. The rewiring requires a repeated practice, a repeated effort. And that is called deconditioning process. Deconditioning process, rewiring process. And once you release the conditioned wiring, you are free from it. Your nervous system is free from it. So next time the same situation comes up, you will not act in the same way anymore, because you have physically rewired your nervous system. And therefore, you can access deeper and deeper levels of your nervous system. Deeper and deeper levels of your nervous system. Everyone has a nervous system, no matter at which level of consciousness you are. Even in full consciousness, the body is still here, the nervous system is still here. And therefore, a continuous awareness is needed to the behavioral patterns. In Buddhism, it's called non-attachment, or non-reaction. Yeah, that's the more precise teaching of non-reaction. To practice non-reaction, you need to practice observation, awareness of your own behavior, of your behavioral patterns. And you always start in the now. You always start now. You never wait for tomorrow. You can always start observing yourself now, your behaviors now, your behavioral patterns, because your behavioral patterns are wired. And the good thing is that you can rewire them. You can change your behavioral patterns. You can unblock your nervous system. You can release the suppressed areas. And the electricity and light will flow through much easier. And therefore your experience in the present and future will uplift to the higher vibration. So this is how you start to embody a higher vibrational experience. This is how you start to live a higher vibrational experience, and it becomes effortless, because the previous rewiring work has happened, deconditioning, rewiring work. And therefore, the best habit that I would say that you can have is continuous observation and awareness of your behavior. This is the single best habit that you can develop. And you can make it as a habit, and it will be so easy for you to observe and to continuously have awareness of your behavior. If you have this habit of observing your behavior and so forth, it will become easy. So this is the best habit that you can ever have, is to observe your habits, observe your behaviors. It's the healthiest habit that there is, to observe your behavioral patterns and to have a continuous awareness of your behavior. And that habit will start to rewire all other habits. And you can program yourself in that way. A habit is a program, which is established and repeated over and over again, and thus it becomes a habit and it becomes effortless. So the habit of observation can become effortless. However, the rewiring will require a certain amount of effort, because sometimes you will access some deep areas in your nervous system, and you will need some practice of presence, emotional inquiry, and so forth to heal those areas. And that's called healing. That's called healing. To heal your nervous system. So through the habit of self-observation awareness, through the healing practices, you rewire your nervous system permanently to the higher vibrational experience. And this is so important in consciousness work, because in consciousness work you open higher consciousness, but you need to sustain it. If your nervous system holds a lot of traumatic experiences, psychological conditions, the higher level of consciousness will be quite uncomfortable. Because the higher level of consciousness has a lot more light, a lot more higher vibration. It shines a lot brighter. And if your nervous system is it's a much lower level with psychological traumatic conditions, then it will be quite uncomfortable to have this big light shining through your body, through the nervous system, while the nervous system is holding on to a lot of conditions. And this is why people act out, why they get triggered so easily, why they act out, why they react. It all happens through the nervous system. So therefore, nervous system development is the second most important priority that we give. Consciousness work is number one, nervous system development is number two, because it bridges that gap. It bridges that gap. Consciousness is the highest, we can say, and nervous system is the bottom, hardwired system. And it bridges this gap. The gap is behavioral patterns, traumas, psychological conditions. That's the gap. So consciousness, nervous system, the top and the bottom, and in the middle are all behavioral patterns, conditions that need to be rewired. So your nervous system is a very big asset that you own. And it's a very good investment to be developed, because all of your future will be acted out through this nervous system that you currently hold. All your future experiences will be determined by your nervous system that you hold. And it will determine your actions and reactions through this nervous system that you currently hold. And therefore, if you establish self-observation and self-awareness and the healing protocols, the healing practices, you will be riding the right wave. You will be surfing through life experiences, not being conditional, not conditionally reacting to life experiences. You can surf with life experiences. You don't need to be crashed by the life experiences. So this way, when life will be manifesting in the future, you will be able to have the right relationship with life, with all those new circumstances, experiences coming up. If you make a habit of self-observation, self-awareness, healing. So therefore, it is extremely important to realize that your nervous system is a great asset that you have right now. And this is something which is worth investing. This is something which is worth development, because we're speaking about your whole future to come. And it will not be easy to work with the nervous system. It's not easy, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. And I witnessed again and again and hundreds of times, when people rewire their nervous system, their life experience always changes for better. Their life experience comes in a higher vibration. This is no longer my observation, it's a scientific fact. Kriya Yoga was very popular in the West because it recognized this fact. And these practices were developed to boost your nervous system. So now let's have a look at some of the practices in the list in this document. What can we do actually to uplift our nervous system? So the very first thing that in the New Humanities School is by default is the 5 Tibetan rites. This is the daily practice that everyone can learn day one, no matter where they are. That immediately starts to increase your vibration, and this is why we say you need to take up to 6 months to reach the 21 repetitions of each exercise, because you need a gradual increase in the vibration. It's not about the physical stamina. I can do it physically. Now it's about your vibrational increase. So 5 Tibetan rites are the default first exercise to be done every day, 10 minutes, done. Pranayama breathing exercises. There are quite many different breathing exercises, and in our daily practices on our website there is a list of which ones to do, and then of course in our workshops, retreats, you learn more and more advanced pranayama practices and kriyas to develop your nervous system and to work with pranic energy. The pranic energy is also flowing through the nervous system. It's energy, yes. So it's also flowing through the energy centers, through the energy system, into the nervous system. Because the nervous system is physical, your energy system is not physical, it's energetic. So the life force energy flows through the energy system into the nervous system. It gets translated into the electromagnetic, electrical light energy. It gets basically transmuted and translated into this life force energy, inter-electrical light energy, which goes through your nervous system, neural pathways. Huh? Yeah, from the prana, then it gets translated. To use super nutritional supplements, and you already know which ones we already posted, the ones to use as a beginning, and now we are also developing the super nutritional chart, which will include all related to the high vibrational health. So now we're in a process of developing the high vibrational health program. And this is the approach to take when it comes to the health supplements, your physical body, the high vibrational health. And it includes everything, with food, fasting, supplements, detox, and so forth. And now this project is on the way, and generally it's called high vibrational health. So that your physical body increases in its vibration and it is able to sustain that higher vibration. We're no longer arguing which diet is better. It's simple, which diet simply supports higher vibrational health, higher vibrational system. From that point of view, everything becomes very simple. Because your goal as well is to live on a high vibration. It's not necessarily to have the best health as such, but it's to have the highest vibration. Because also people have, there are DNA issues and so forth. Many things can be done about that. Some things cannot be done about that. But highest vibrational experience, highest vibrational life will allow you to have the best life as long as your DNA and your other conditions, your karmic and DNA conditions will allow you to live. We're not concerned how long, but the highest vibration in life is always the best life to be lived. One day the science will catch up to fix the DNA and so forth, that your physical body can live a lot longer. So that's what the medicine and science needs to catch up. But higher vibrational life is always the best life to be lived. Transmissions of higher voltage energy and consciousness, that greatly helps to increase the nervous system capacity. That's where you will receive from other teachers and so forth, the higher vibrational energy consciousness. It boosts, it's like a boost to your nervous system. And living or staying in high vibrational places. Here we are in Himalayas, and this is a very high vibrational space. So it surely adds and it helps your nervous system very much. If you go to a big city, the vibration is quite low, so you need to do extra exercises, extra pranayamas, and you can create a high vibrational space in your house, at your work, and so forth, using certain devices and crystals and so forth, certain tools to create a high vibrational space and maintain it. So even if you are in a big city, you can still create this high vibrational, like a personal hotspot, a personal high vibrational hotspot. So yes, to use new technology devices for nervous system healing, to use tools, high vibrational tools and products to create this high vibrational space. And there are things you can even carry with yourself to keep a higher vibration, to protect your energy field. You can, some things are bigger, you need to keep them at home, next to a laptop, and so forth. So these are all kinds of tools, products, and technologies as well. There are technologies, devices, and we have one of those devices, and we're researching more, which can repair your nervous system and boost your nervous system. So as I said, we already have a device, we're researching more powerful devices, and it's the research and also development project of the New Humanity Foundation to repair and boost your nervous system. And of course, nervous system meditations. Meditations that people can do together and that you can do on your own at home to increase your nervous system capacity. So nervous system has a capacity, yes, and we measure on the scale from 0 to 1000. And 1000 represents an absolutely perfect nervous system. And that doesn't really exist as such, because life itself has a certain toll, that life itself always has certain conditions. And unless you isolate yourself in the Himalayan mountains and you were born as a child and never experienced any conditions of life, but even it is still impossible not to be affected by external conditions. So 1000 represents that absolute perfection of the nervous system, which is the model, we can say, that when life would not have a toll on the nervous system and it's absolutely perfectly wired, absolutely perfectly functioning. So the only possibility we could say, if somebody would manifest from the 5th dimension and would assume, or 4th dimension, and would assume the human energy system, never been touched by life and conditions of life, that would be the 1000 on the scale of perfection of the nervous system. The sensitivity increases in a more relaxed way. You become a lot more sensitive but more relaxed, and you can process a lot more energy experience. So it's the capacity to process the now. And I remember even myself, some maybe 8 years ago, after giving a public meditation, satsang, I would be very exhausted. You know, I would need a good rest because the energy would be so high. But nowadays, after giving a satsang, just like I walk out like nothing happened. You know, it just, my nervous system just processes it so effortlessly, easily. But some years ago, after a good meditation, I would like need to lay down a bit, half an hour, and you know, let everything flow through and to process it all and integrate it all, and you know, just give some time to it for everything to be processed. So that's the capacity. And yes, you know, in terms of sensitivity, there is a little bit of misunderstanding that some people say, I'm so sensitive, you know, a little sound here and there, I can't meditate. Because there is a lot of disturbance in the nervous system. It's actually not sensitivity, it's disturbance. I'm easily disturbed, not I'm hyper overly sensitive. You're easily disturbed. because sensitivity in itself is happening now, and sensitivity can increase exponentially. Sensitivity has its range of sensitive frequencies. For example, my range of sensitive frequencies is a lot broader spectrum than the average human person, because the energy channels are open, the third eye is open, and thus I can see, perceive more, and sense a lot more. But this is development, yes? It happened with development. And you can do that too. You can increase the range of spectrum of sensitivity. And I'm not like a sensitive person, you know, in that sense. I'm not disturbed person. I'm extremely sensitive in terms of my perception and sensibility of what is happening now. I'm very relaxed and I'm not disturbed. So disturbance and sensitivity are also need to be used correctly in understanding.
And you don't carry it into your next now.
And I don't carry into the next now, yes. Although I will be also honest that sometimes I need to process something, because sometimes, a lot of times, new energies come in that the nervous system has not experienced before. You know, when we travel, and there's always some new cosmic energies coming in, new environments, new experiences, and these things are new to this nervous system, and sometimes it does take a little time to process them. And this is very natural, and I will say honestly that it happens. You know, I will not pretend that, you know, it doesn't happen. You know, so yes, when the new energy comes in, it's suddenly new, and the system says, oh, this is new. I haven't experienced this before. What should I do about this? And, you know, allow it to flow through, to process, to become familiar with the new energy, and then it becomes normal, natural. Okay, this is not an excuse to go to someone and say, you know, you're disturbing me, and, you know, or I can't do this job anymore, I want to quit, or I need to move away from my city because it's too bad for my nervous system. You know, you're trying to change external conditions with your personal nervous system low capacity. No, first you need to work on your nervous system capacity, and only then make a wise decision if you want to change the external environment and conditions. A wise decision, yes? First within, and then wise decision to change outside. You need to see what is disturbed within you. But however, if there is air pollution, then it's obviously not healthy. There are many human activities which are causing a lot of nervous system damage, yes. Human activities are very unwise. Yes, that is clear, yes. But that's not an excuse to isolate yourself and, you know, go away and run away, and, you know, you can still function, you know, well. You know, I love technologies. You know, I just love them, you know, and I see that there's a gap between the physical and the consciousness energy, and now this gap is closing. Technologies are becoming more connected to energy itself, and essentially everything is energy at different levels of density, and science now is progressing very well, and I love it. And I, you know, it needs a bit of direction and guidance, and we can achieve a lot of great results. But yes, there are many side effects, and social media can be very disturbing in many ways, and fear-mongering and so forth. So humans are very unwise. say there is efficient processing.
Oh, more efficient ones.
Yes, there is. You don't need to cry for days. It's not even good. It doesn't even help to cry. Yeah. Some people go into the crying and they start even damaging more themselves with dark thoughts, with negative thoughts. It becomes even further conditioning reinforcement down the drain, down the vortex. So it's not your case, of course, but some people do. They go even further down the drain. So that's not healthy. Crying is good to a certain extent. Crying is releasing something suppressed. It's good to a certain extent. After crying, if you feel better, then it means it was good. Or if you continue crying and you don't feel better, then that's not good. Crying is such a interesting concept, isn't it? Like some water is running through your eyes. It's a way of balancing, isn't it?
Yes.
That's clear. It's a way of balancing. So have a balanced cry.
The efficiency of crying is that
I love this terminology.
something cold.
No, it's actually very precise. It's so precise that it's like, wow. The efficiency of crying. Yes, so some crying is exciting crying. Some crying is of gratitude. Some crying is of something so beautiful that you couldn't believe in it before. You never thought it could happen. It's something bigger came that in a good way, that it brings you tears. Because so the relief and feeling better comes with the heart. So it helps the heart to open more or to heal some pain. So let's conclude this topic that if you feel better, relieved, then it was good. Yeah, if you feel you're doing too much, if you feel you're going down, even lower, then that's not good. It's a bit dependent on the level of consciousness, and to see, this is why we look at also the emotional capacity, the psychological capacity, the mental capacity, because sometimes you need to develop one aspect more, and when that becomes stronger, then you're ready to go deeper. So it's a dynamic process, and it changes over time as you increase your capacity. So I could not say that now let's just go into all these traumas and it's gonna work out well, because maybe you're not ready yet, or you don't even need to go to some of them yet. Maybe you haven't increased your capacity enough yet, and so forth. So it's a bit dynamic as well. It depends where you are right now. Your nervous system has a capacity, yes, and the observation awareness has also certain capacity. And if you come to a much higher vibrational space or experience, then it might be difficult to manage the non-reaction on observation. So that is why it happens so. But as long as you know that, the goal is to observe, develop awareness, now you have awareness of post-reactional awareness, but you have this awareness, and that's how you increase your observational awareness capacity. It also increases. And it's just how it works. It's just how it works. Yeah, what irritates you, exactly what you need to work on. Irritates you, then be more specific. What feeling is there? maybe there is intolerance. Yeah, there's always a certain feeling in these situations, like intolerance, for example, wanting it to be different. I would say what you have mentioned so far, I would say that would be a certain intolerance. And then you need to sit down a bit and do the same emotional practice, inquiry, to be with intolerance.
So it's not
Yeah, you continuously need to strengthen your nervous system, and it's a combination of all of these things together with the focus of increasing the capacity that makes this change. And then over time, you see how much you changed. And if you look at your own capacity now and 2 years ago, it's a totally different story. You know, your capacity is so much bigger right now than 2 years ago. And that's the evidence. And in the next 2 years, you will look at today and say, oh, how far I've come. I can handle a lot bigger situations. I can handle a lot more energies. I'm less triggered, more stable, and so forth.